It's something that'll change the world and human life as we know it.
He knows. He's seen the light.
When Monty talks, it's painful.
Monty, you have been so instrumental in kind of pointing me in the right direction.
It was about looking at your character defects in spirituality.
It's the integration of clinical practices with the 12 steps.
It's an absolute pleasure. He certainly knows a lot of people. He's got a lot of energy, and sometimes when you don't have so much energy, he picks you up and carries you.
Having the Monty man there certainly helps.
This is one of the places that is about the business of the solution.
The views expressed on this special broadcast of the Take 12 radio show do not necessarily reflect those of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting or its affiliates. KHLT is not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship.
Now here's that guy who's getting less popular minute by minute, your host, the Multi-Man.
Well, greetings, all you wonderful, happy people out there. Welcome to Take12Radio.com on your internet dial, the world's only 12-step solution-focused radio station broadcasting a unique show Monday through Friday with workshops and seminars and coverage of recovery conferences and events, as well as recovery and positive music playing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's good to have you with us. We are broadcasting from the studios of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting on the outskirts of beautiful downtown Albany, Oregon. How the heck are you? Hey, listen, one of the most powerful things that our 12-step fellowships offer are the personal stories of experience, strength, and hope that are published. For instance, in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, a good quarter of the book are personal stories. And in fact, if you start reading in the beginning of the big book, it tells you to stop reading and go back and read the stories. And one of the reasons that it wants you to do that is because it wants to see if you can identify with some of the stuff that was going on with these people that lent their wonderful stories of experience, strength, and hope to the literature. And if you can, that perhaps you can also tap into the same solution that they did, which was a power greater than themselves to restore them, not to sobriety, but to sanity. And it's a marvelous thing. And so we are about breaking stigma here at Take 12 Radio. And one of the most powerful ways we do that is to share the stories of experience, strength, and hope from folks with you, the listener. And on the phone with me right now is my guest for today, Andy Race from Phoenix, Arizona. Andy, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for coming on and being willing to share your story. It means a lot to a lot of people.
Hey, well, it is my pleasure to do this.
So Andy, Phoenix, Arizona, is that where you grew up, were born, or is that where you landed?
Yeah. Well, it's where I landed. I was born in Peoria, Illinois, and then kind of grew up in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And when I was 9 years old, we moved out here to Phoenix. So I've lived here most of my life. I'm 35 now. So
right. And you currently have 14 years of sober. True?
Yes.
Yeah. So, but before that, things weren't going so well. What was going on?
Pretty much, when I was growing up, I never felt like I fit in. You know, I know it's like the cliche
right.
thing I hear in AA a lot, but I never felt like I fit in. I always, I wanted to be popular, and I was always trying to hang out with the cool crowd, but I always felt like, I was never cool enough to participate in the conversation. You know, I was always just kind of like the quiet guy, just like hanging out with everybody else. And but everybody knew me though, but I guess I was kind of like the nerdy guy or whatever. But
did you have brothers? Did you have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I have one brother, a younger brother. He's like 3 years younger than me.
Well, did you at any point feel in competition with him? Did he seem to fit in better than you did?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's like the same size as me when we were growing up, and
right.
So, and actually now he's taller than me. I call him my big little brother, but he's like 6'1" or something. I'm like 5'9". So.
Right.
But yeah, we were always in competition, and I was always trying to keep up with him, and so.
Well, you know, we talk a lot about trauma on our show, and how in many cases people grew up with traumatic experiences, but some of us, we really didn't have those things going on. What was going on in your youth? Were you raised in a good home, and you just kind of went sideways, or what?
Yeah, it was a good, I mean, my parents were normal. I never had any kind of abuse or anything. I had like this, like, fairy tale childhood. I mean, I just used to go out and play, and when we lived in Iowa, and just, it was like so much fun. Sometimes I wish I hope heaven's like that. Like, when I go to heaven, I hope it's like when I was like 6 years old. Like, it was so amazing.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, but it was when I got older, pretty much. Like, when I started becoming like a teenager and getting into junior high is when it really started for me. Like, all these kids were always like, you know, like, hey man, Andy, do you party, man? We're gonna have to take you partying with us. And, like, you know, it was when I started wanting to be cool and, like, hang out with these people, and I was listening to, like, rap music, and they were talking about, like, getting high and drinking and doing all this stuff, and that's kind of when it started for me, when I was like in like 7th grade or 6th grade, 6th or 7th grade.
Yeah. So it was the thing to do. So you just kind of jumped on board.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, that's how it was. I mean, I would just do whatever everybody else was doing around me.
Right.
You know?
And little did you know that you may very well have a genetic or a disposition towards addiction. Some people don't. I mean, they party and they grow up, and then there's the rest of us. Something happens to us mentally, psychologically, biologically, that's different than other people. Was that you?
Oh yeah, definitely. I could never just have just one. I mean, I always, like, when I started drinking, I would always want more. And me and my friend, we were like the same way, and we'd always have like beers stashed. If there was people over, we'd have some stuff stashed for us on the side, or whatever it was. If it was drugs too, or whatever, we would, you know, we'd always have some extra stuff for us, and there was never enough. I remember, like, drinking, and, like, I would always just want to drink till I get like a good buzz going, but I would always go past that, I mean, my other friends, they were alcoholics, but, like, I could never handle my liquor. I was always the guy that was, like, passed out in the corner, just like a mess.
So okay. So you knew people that they got to a point where they'd had enough, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but because I've met people like that. You know, I've had enough, and I'm like, really? You know, I was the guy. Everybody else was passed out, and I was still drinking. And I was wondering what's going on with you guys? It's only 3 a.m. Come on, man.
Oh yeah.
You know, so were you a pretty functioning, you know, individual, even though you were using and abusing? I mean, did you lose jobs, or did you hold on to them?
No, I lost jobs. No, I was a sloppy drunk. I mean, all my friends were alcoholics. I mean, they drank, like, they would drink like a 12-pack, but I could drink like eight or 9 beers or 10 beers, and I'd be gone. I'd be like passed out. Like, I have a really low tolerance and stuff. So
right.
But yeah, I would go through like all these jobs. Like, one year, like, I had like so many different jobs, and I would always get like fast food jobs, so because they didn't drug test and stuff. And so yeah, I used to be a thief too. I mean, I would steal from jobs. I stole from McDonald's and all different kinds of places. And Food for Less. I worked at this grocery store, Food for Less, and I used to steal from them and just anything I could do. And I was just I wasn't stealing just, you know, because I needed the money or whatever. I was just stealing just because I thought it was cool or whatever, you know.
For the adrenaline rush of it, huh?
Yeah, exactly. And we'd steal beers steal alcohol from places, and it was pretty crazy.
Did you just walk into the store, grab it, and just walk straight out?
Oh, yeah. I've done beer runs before, and at this Food for Less place, I used to just walk in there, and I would, like, grab a cart, and I'd fill it up with beer and chips and just all kinds of stuff, and meat, and, like, stuff to barbecue, charcoal, and then I'd just walk back out the entrance. And I did that, like, 4 times, and on the 5th time, they actually caught me, but I got away. They got my sweatshirt and my shoe, and I ran across this field of rocks, and my friends were waiting in the car. I got away. It was crazy.
Oh my God! So were you the guy that everybody could turn to do the crazy stuff?
Yes. They would always want me to be doing all this crazy stuff all the time. Exactly.
Right.
That was me.
Oh my gosh! All right, Andy, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, let's talk a little bit about how this affected your family. What they thought about all this. Folks, don't go away. More with my guest from Phoenix, Arizona, Andy Race, when we come back. Hey there, it's Monty Meyer from Take 12 Recovery Radio. Well, I'd like to take this opportunity to let you know about a brand new service being provided to those of you in the Willamette Valley and surrounding areas of Oregon. It's the ARS program, Addiction Recovery Services, being made available Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Oak Creek Christian Center, located at 5775 Columbus Street Southeast in Albany, Oregon. If you or a loved one are living with addiction issues such as chemical dependency, alcoholism, opiate addiction, pornography, sexual addiction, eating disorders, or even codependency issues, we are here to help you. Here at ours, we have resources available that you may not be aware of that can help you or your loved one recover from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. We offer experience, strength, and hope, as we have been there ourselves, and feel it imperative to assist you in obtaining the help you need to begin to experience the life you were meant to and created to enjoy. Well, perhaps you are not personally afflicted by any form of addiction, but you know and love someone who is. You've tried everything and feel at a loss as to what to do next to help. May I encourage you to pick up the phone today and call us here at 541-926-7981. You can call Monday through Thursday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. to schedule an appointment with our Addiction Resource and Support Department. You don't have to belong to a church or even believe in God to take the advantage of our services. All you need is a willingness to seek help. That number again, 541-926-7981. That's 541-926-7981 to schedule an appointment. We look forward to hearing from you, and remember, you don't have to go through this alone.
As men and women who have recovered from utterly hopeless states of addiction ourselves, we know all too well what it's like to battle addiction daily. We are Origins Recovery Centers. Here at Origins, we have taken that which we have learned along the way, excised anything unhelpful and unnecessary, infused it with the latest medical research and innovative therapeutic methods, and created what we know to be the absolute gold standard in substance abuse treatment. And Origins provides the most preeminent aftercare and relapse prevention program available in the United States. For a free confidential clinical assessment, call toll-free 888-843-8935. That's 888-843-8935. Origins, delivering real solutions for real families.
All right, welcome back to the show. Nothing more powerful than the personal stories of experience, strength, and hope. And today on the show, Andy Reyes from Phoenix, Arizona, is my guest, sharing his story of what it was like, what happened, and what it's like today. So Andy, what did your folks think about this? When did they start getting the sense that something was up?
When I was 16, I mean, I started drinking when I was 14 and stuff, but within a couple of years, they sent me to the behavioral health center, and I convinced them that I didn't have a problem, and there's nothing they could do. They released me, and so, but they knew pretty early on that I was going the wrong direction, but there wasn't anything I could do or that they could do. I was so rebellious. Anything they told me to do, I would just, they'd say, "You're grounded." I'd be like, "All right, see you later, bye." And I was very rebellious, and but they always hung in there, and they never gave up on me. That's the one thing about my parents; they never gave up on me.
Were your parents people of faith?
They took us to church when we were kids, and they were, but I think they're more kind of like Sunday Christians, honestly. We never really prayed in the home or anything, but they did try to take us to church when we were younger, and me and my brother used to ditch, and they actually kicked us out of church, so my parents have never gone back to this day.
Wow.
But, yeah.
So, the church kicked your family out?
They kicked me and my brother out, and they told my parents not to bring us back.
Ouch.
Yeah, this Methodist church we used to go to.
Yeah. Yeah, and listeners, I don't want you to get the wrong idea. That is not the norm. I mean, but there are people and there are churches that'll do that. I don't get it, but I guess you can become so unruly that you're disturbing everyone else, though, true?
Yeah, that's how it was. Yeah. I was pretty unruly, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so what about your brother? How did he handle your alcoholic ways?
Well, he was right there along with me.
Yeah.
It was me and him, He used to come hang out with me and my friends and try to hang with us.
Yeah, but I mean, do you think that he had the same issues that you did, or was he just a heavy drinker?
I think he's an alcoholic.
Yeah.
I think he is. He still drinks every once in a while. But yeah, I don't think he's as bad as I was, though. I don't think he was.
Yeah, you were.
I think
you were pretty bad.
Potential alcoholic. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just I could not stop. I'm just crazy.
And so for those who may be listening for the first time, what we're talking about here, when we say alcoholic, we're not talking about somebody who simply abuses alcohol. We're talking about somebody who suffers from, it's a twofold evaluation, really, and that is that when you drink, you have little or no control over how much or how often you drink, and when you're sober, you can't stay that way. And that was you, right, Andy?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Whereas a heavy drinker or an alcohol abuser, if they have a good enough reason, they just stop, and maybe they'll get a couple DUIs, maybe they'll lose a job or even a family member or whatever, but they'll stop at some point and say, "Yeah, I've had enough," and they never struggle again. And that's not usually most of my guests that are on this show. Most of us are the alcoholics of the hopeless variety, meaning that if we don't have divine intervention, we're probably doomed. What did something happen to move you from active drinking and using into a place of abstinence? What took place?
Okay. It got to the point where, I know drugs is a part of my story. I don't know if I can talk about drugs.
You absolutely can. This isn't AA or NA or any of that stuff. This is Take 12 Radio. You can talk about whatever you want.
Oh, okay. Cool. Well, yeah, okay. Like I was on a lot of drugs. I was, doing crack cocaine and meth and just huffed. I used to huff paint several times and just all kinds of stuff. And I did not stop. And I got to this point where I was really paranoid, and I had to stop smoking weed. And I did acid one time, and I had a really bad trip on acid. I don't know if I've ever come back from that. I think I'm still joking. But so it just got to the point where I was just freaking out all the time, and I was going crazy pretty much. I was hearing voices and seeing stuff and just having delusional thinking and all kinds of stuff. And drugs pretty much drove me crazy is what happened. And excuse me, I was 21, I was 20 years old, and I was on my second DUI. I had like all these minor consumption tickets and 2 DUIs before I turned 21. And like we were always driving. That was like my hobby, was to drive around and drink.
Yeah, you bet.
And,
you bet. Me too.
So they would always catch us, and then so my mom took me to Alcoholics Anonymous when I was on my second DUI, and to look good for the judge, to show the judge I was trying to do something.
Yeah.
To get sober. And but at that point in my life, I know now that God was opening the door. The Holy Spirit was opening up the door for me to find Him, to find God. And so I went to court actually, and I had been going to AA for a couple months. I drank between meetings for a couple of months. I got there in October of 1999 in Alcoholics Anonymous, and I remember just, they told me, keep coming back. Don't take the first drink. It's the first drink that gets you drunk. And I heard the word God, and it didn't scare me, and I was ready. I was willing to do anything. And they asked me, when I got my first sponsor, he asked me if I was willing to go to any length to stay sober. And I said yes, And so I was drinking between meetings for a couple of months. And on December 12th, 1999, I had my last drink. And it was like five drinks and a couple hits off of a joint. And then the next day I went to this meeting, and the topic was like on sponsorship, or I forget what the topic was, but I heard get a sponsor. And so after the meeting, I went up to the chairperson and I asked him, how do you get a sponsor? And he said, just ask somebody who has what you want. And I'm like, okay, well, you're the only one in the room. Everybody else was gone. So I said, okay, you're it, buddy. So he's like, okay, do you have a big book? And so he got me a big book, and he wrote in the front of the big book, my sobriety date, December 13th, 1999, and I've never had to change it ever since.
Wow.
He told me to read the first 164 pages of the big book and to give him a call. And he asked me if I was willing to go to any length, like I said, to stay sober, and I did, and I was reading the book. I had to go to the tents. I had to go to Tent City and do my time in there, and I was reading the book in there.
You went to Tent City in Arizona?
Yeah, I did.
Oh my gosh! Well, congratulations for surviving that.
Yeah, luckily it was in the wintertime, and it wasn't that bad. Like during the day, but at night you'd have to have like 4 or 5 blankets because it would just be freezing cold outside. So
right.
But I had work release, and it wasn't too bad. So
you went to Tent City, and you're reading the big book?
Yeah, I was reading the big book. Yeah. I was in there for 15 days, actually. It wasn't that bad. And then I had 30 days with the ankle bracelet. But in Tent City, that was when some really cool stuff happened. I found AA in there. And I was going to little meetings in Tent City. It was pretty cool. And there's these two guys that would come in and bring meetings there. And just, it was an exciting time in my life. It really was. Even though it's like there's these horrible circumstances going on the outside, it was a really good time in my life. And I felt peace, finally, after years of just being like so hopeless and desperate and just afraid and terrified. And, you know, I was finally at peace.
Wow.
Yeah, it was.
And we find that to be true with a lot of folks. Once they're incarcerated, sometimes that's what it takes. The miracle happens there.
Yeah. Well, you know, I was still drinking even after I got my second DUI, so I'm lucky I didn't go to prison.
Right.
I mean, if I would have got caught, I was still drinking and driving. So if I would have got caught, I would have ended up going to the big house, you know, and I didn't want to do that. So.
Yeah. But you were on your way if something didn't change.
Yeah, I was on my way. I was either on my way to the nut house or the big house, either one.
Yeah.
Or covered up.
Yeah.
So.
You bet. Well, listen, Andy, we're going to take another break. Folks, don't go away. More with my guest, Andy Race from Phoenix, Arizona. He found Alcoholics Anonymous in Tent City. What an amazing gift. When we come back, let's talk about where you went from there, how you got involved, what you did. Did you actually work the steps? Those kind of questions. So don't go away, my friends. More with Andy when we return. Hey there, this is the Monty Man from Take 12 Recovery Radio. You know, many of us have attended all sorts of addiction symposiums and treatment conventions, and so much of the time we walk away from these events feeling like we've been preaching to the choir just one more time. May I suggest a different kind of substance abuse and addiction treatment event? The Evolution of Addiction Treatment Conference, February 5th through the 8th. 2015 at the Westin Los Angeles Airport Hotel and Convention Center. The current field of substance abuse and addiction treatment has been evolving for almost 8 decades now, and during this time we have seen many important developments as well as many failed experiments. It seems time to step back and conduct a professional inventory of where we have been, where we are now, and where we are heading. Well, this conference will provide a forum that encourages professional dialogues of controversial issues, showcases innovative and creative treatment approaches, and offers an overview of the field and its future. For more information, visit www.theevolutionofaddictiontreatment.com. Join me and many of my guests as we attend the Evolution of Addiction Treatment Conference, February 5th through the 8th at the Westin Los Angeles Airport Hotel and Convention Center, 2015.
Men, women, and their families experience tremendous pain and suffering due to the struggles they face from substance abuse and its co-occurring mental health challenges. They need to find a safe place for peace and healing. Therapia Addiction Healing Center was born out of a deep desire to provide that safe and powerful healing environment. Therapia exists to help people recover from addictions by developing and maintaining healthy, meaningful relationships with God, self, and others. To speak with an addiction specialist, call 1-855-652-4325. That's 1-855-652-4325. Or visit our website at www.therapia.net. Therapia Addiction Healing Center, restoring lives one step at a time.
What's your name? I have seen you before. What's your name? May I walk you to your
Yes, indeedy. Welcome back to the world's only recovery radio station, broadcasting to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, recovery talk and positive music. Andy Grease is my guest from Phoenix, Arizona. Where we left off, Andy had hooked up with Alcoholics Anonymous, and some really wonderful things started to happen. Andy, did you start a step working process right away?
Yeah, I did. When I got my first sponsor, the guy that I said, "You're it," that guy.
Yeah.
He took me through the first couple steps, and he was like taking me through these like packets, and I was looking up words like powerless and that kind of stuff, and then I wrote a goodbye letter to drugs and alcohol. I thought that was pretty cool. And he actually moved away. He moved back to California, and then I didn't have a sponsor for a little bit, not for too long, but this guy came up to me, and he was like, Mr. Big Book Thumper guy, and he's like, do you know where the first step is in the Big Book? And I'm like, no. He's like, page 30. Do you know where the second step is? I'm like, no. Page 45. You know what? And he just kept going, and he's like, come here, let's sit down. And he's like, I'm going to be your sponsor. I'm just like, okay, sure, sounds good to me. And so this guy, he was, Andrew was his name. He was a miracle in my life. He took me through the rest of the steps. And we would meet up once a week, and we read the Big Book, page by page, word for word, and we took the steps as we got there in the book. And I did my third step with him. He said I could do it with anybody I wanted to, and I decided I wanted to do it with him.
Sure.
And I got down on my knees, and he got down on his knees. We were on the phone, and I'm assuming he got down on his knees. I know I did.
Yeah.
And so we did the third step prayer. But yeah, I mean, I at that point, like, I was willing to believe in God. I had this idea that there was like that something had to create all this, because I was like so hopeless. And I remember when I was first reading the first 164 pages, I got to that part in We Agnostics, and where it says God is either everything or He is nothing.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure I mention this, because I don't want to brush by like finding God here. So
Right, you bet.
But yeah, but I knew that there was something out there. I remember getting high, like, you know, being like, yeah, I'm going to figure out the mystery of the universe, man. Like, I wonder if, like, you know, the universe is a grain of sand in some other dimension or something. And so I've always been a thinker, you know. And I knew that there was something more, but I learned in Alcoholics Anonymous that God actually cares about us. I never knew that, like, this creator or whatever actually cares about me, you know, and cares about what's going on in my life, and knows the number of the hairs on my head. And so that's what I found in Alcoholics Anonymous, and I found hope. I found that there is a purpose. You know, God is either everything or He is nothing. And I said, I want God to be everything. God's going to be my everything. And so that was a major turning point in my life. And that was when I was still with my first sponsor. And then, you know, and so then, you know, back to where I was. So then I did my third step with my second sponsor, and then he right away he said, you know, next we launched out on a vigorous course of action. And so I started working on my fourth step, and I put off my fourth step for a long time. Like, I'll be honest with you, and I would not recommend that.
But that's common. That's common. We actually find that we lose a lot of people at that step.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because they don't launch forth.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And by the way, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, but to launch literally is an Air Force term. It means 0 to 200 in like 60 seconds. He means really quick. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, looking back, I would have done it a lot faster.
Yeah.
But I I was thinking, I remember thinking, I'm gonna be on this thing forever. I need to just hurry up and do this. Because he told me to just do like 10 a night or 15 a night and just get it done. But I would like put it off. I do like 20, like, and then I wait another 2 weeks, and then I do another 20 or whatever. But luckily, I was going to meetings, and I was plugged in, and I had that experience, you know, where I know I did my first step when I asked that guy to be my sponsor, because I had never asked anyone for help ever in my life before.
Wow.
Like I didn't know how to express what was going on inside of me. Like how, you know, that was the first time I ever asked somebody to help me with what's going on inside me, because I just bottled everything up. I never told anybody anything that was going on in my mind or anything. So
I want to refer to something that you said because I think it's so important. You had mentioned step 1 being on page 30 and step 2 being on 45, and for those who may not know, page 45 is the second page in the chapter 4, We Agnostics, which, by the way, listeners, is not a chapter excusing people away from believing in a power greater than themselves. It's actually a chapter that is encouraging people that you can start anywhere. But you have to make a start. You have to be willing. And I just think it's so interesting that in We Agnostics, it gives the description of the alcoholic. It says, if when you honestly want to, you find you cannot quit entirely, or if when drinking you have little control over the amount you take, you're probably alcoholic. And you can interject addict in there too as well, because we know alcoholism is an addiction. And then it says, if you jump over to the next page, it tells you what this book is all about. It says, but where and how were we to find this power greater than ourselves? Well, that's exactly what this book is about. Its main object is to enable you to find a power greater than yourself, which will solve your problem. And may I just say, Andy, and I'm sure you'll echo with this, if you are in a 12-step fellowship that is not unapologetically about helping you find a power greater than yourself to help you solve your problem, you're in a bad group. True?
yes, I would agree.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. I mean, that's how AA started. I mean, they didn't have the big books in the beginning. They had the Bible.
Yeah.
And other books, but
yeah,
that's what it's about. I mean, it's about Christ. You know, it's about Jesus. And I think AA's gotten away from that a lot now.
Well, it's interesting to note that in Bill's story, when he's talking about the having that visitation with Ebby, he tells the reader who they were talking about. He says Christ. Uh-huh. If they were talking about some obscure being, he would have said that, but he didn't say that. He said Christ, and he talks about how his opinion of religion and so forth was really nasty. I mean, he really did not like that whole idea, but how he found out later he was wrong. And we'd like to fluff over that because we don't want to offend anybody. True?
Right. Exactly.
But we're going to not offend them right back to the streets. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I agree.
So this relationship that the steps and the big book and your sponsor and everything and the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous, this relationship with God that developed is like at the core of your being, isn't it, Andy?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. You know, it sounds cliche or whatever, but I mean, God is my life. God's like, that's God is all I have. I mean, this world is passing away. I mean, nothing. I've done like so many things. I'm one of these people that's like, I have to like run stuff into the ground before I get tired of it.
Yeah.
And
me too.
Like this world, it's like in Ecclesiastes. I think he says that in the Bible, like King Solomon. You know that nothing fulfills me. Alcohol, drugs, sex, rock and roll. I've done it all, like all these things, and I've run them to the ground, and they've never fulfilled me. They've never filled that part in my soul, in my heart, that God does. God is eternal, and all these other things are passing away. It's all fleeting. And so, yeah, God is the biggest part of my life today, and the center of my life, and it's all about God's will, you know. And this was not an easy place for me to get. I mean, it's taken years for me to get to this place, but because I remember in the beginning, I was like, well, what's God's will? They would always say, well, just do the opposite of what you think. You know, what your brain's telling you.
Right.
But today, like, I know I have this relationship with God where he speaks to my heart, and he'll tell me things, and I'll just have this knowing, and he'll put people in my life. He'll give me these divine appointments, people I'm supposed to pray for or talk to, and it's just amazing, just the miracles that I see, like, every day, all the time. So it was kind of cool. I wanted to share this, that I went to this meeting, to speak at this meeting yesterday, actually. I think it was a couple of days ago or something, and I just went to speak. It was at this treatment center. It's a mental health place and like a dual addiction place. And,
right.
After the meeting, this lady came up to me and was like just hopeless and just like had so many like just her brain, like she was in there because she was like locked herself in the bathroom and had a gun and was like threatening to kill herself. And
wow.
Her husband called the police and had her committed to this place, and she was just at the end of her rope. And I guess she was a pot smoker, and she wasn't in there for like hard drugs or anything, just for that. And so after the meeting, she came up to me, and I know this was a divine appointment. Like, God put me there because I was able to lead this lady to Christ.
Wow.
And it was so amazing. Like, the Holy Spirit was so strong, and I was able to lead her in the prayer. And that's what I do today. I go out and I go soul winning on the streets at my church. We go out and we lead people to Christ, because that's what it's really about. I mean, we can be all Mr. Ego in the meeting, like, yeah, you got to do this and this and this, and yeah, I go to this meeting and my sponsor is this person or whatever. But you know, what are you really doing? Like, are you really bringing God? Are you really bringing the solution to these people, or are you just saying, okay, I have this group of people around me and I do this and that? But you know, I don't hear God a whole lot in AA anymore. I don't hear people talking about God. I hear them talking about everything else but God. And I was able to bring God to this woman, and just to see the lights turn on in her eyes,
yeah,
and the hope, and I was able to give her a hug and tell her that God loves her and He has a plan for her life, and God told me to give her this Bible. I had this recovery Bible in my trunk, and someone gave it to me actually, and I was able to give it to her, and it was just like, it was so amazing. And that's the things that happen in my life today. That's what my life's about today. It's not about me.
Yeah.
It's about helping others and bringing God to other people and hope.
That's amazing. That's amazing, brother. I really appreciate that story. And I want the listeners to understand, because some people are going, because we have a lot of different people from a lot of different belief systems that listen to the show, and they know where I stand, and I don't make any apologies for it. But I want them to understand that we're not talking, you weren't going out trying to drum up members for your church or to have a religious experience based on Andy's theology. You were going out sharing a relationship that you found to be true for you with someone else that needed a solution, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not, it's not religious at all. It's about, telling them that God loves them, and He has a plan for their life, and He wants them to have eternal life.
Yeah, amen. Okay, we need to take our last break, and when we come back, let's talk a little bit more about what you're doing today within the recovery community and in your own circles. Folks, don't go away. More with Andy Race when we come back. Free by the Sea, Sunset View Drug and Alcohol Recovery Center offers an inpatient residential treatment program for drug and alcohol addiction. Through our many years of experience treating addictions, we know that the best way to ensure successful treatment outcomes is by removing the client from the people, places, and things associated with their addictions. By reducing these distractions, we are able to give our clients the opportunity to fully engage in the treatment process and learn the coping skills they will need in order to begin a new life free from addiction. For more information, visit our website at www.freebythesea.com or call 800-272-9199. That's 800-272-9199. Free by the Sea, charting a new course to recovery.
What's your story? What's going on in your mind? And what's the trouble that you're leaving this time? What's your story? What did you learn to do? And what did you say when they were picking on you? Well, I got worries, but you know they're all mine. On your way to find your goal, with a purpose to unfold. And the people all around you seem so strange, 'cause everything you know is about to change.
All right, just to let you know, this portion of the show is sponsored by Serenity Springs Recovery Center. Addiction is a disease that deteriorates the body, punishes the mind, and destroys the spirit. Addiction needs to be attacked on all three of these fronts. Serenity Springs does just that. And by the way, I have personally been to and have enjoyed the company of the staff and clients on their beautiful resort-style campus in Edgewater, Florida, and I highly recommend that you check them out for yourself or for that loved one you're concerned about. You can visit their website at serenityspringsrecovery.com or call 24-hour their admissions department, 844-377-7464. All right, so what's your story, by the way? What did you learn to do? If you'd like to share your story of experience, strength, and hope here at Take 12 Radio, please drop us an email. Or actually, better yet, go to our website at take12radio.com and click on Be on the Show. And give us some time. We get lots and lots and lots of requests to be on the show. And I will be quite honest with you, excuse me, we're pretty picky about who we have come on the show because we don't want to share with you a message that is going to send you in a direction that is not going to be beneficial for you. So not everybody that requests to be on the show gets on the show. But if you think you have something to share, hey, go for it. And because part of our recovery is giving away what's been given to us and sharing our experience, strength, and hope. So please do that. And please be patient with me as I go through the requests. And sometimes it takes a few months for me to call you and get back to you. But just know that in one way or another, yay or nay, I will respond. All right, Andy Reese from Phoenix, Arizona has been sharing his experience, strength, and hope, what it was like, what happened, and what it's like today. We're talking about what it's like today and the importance of his creator, our creator, in his life, directing his path. He's turned his will and his life over to the care of God as he continues to understand him, right, Andy? I mean, you are continuing on a regular basis to understand more and more about your relationship between you and God, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I read the Bible every day. I try to, and I try to, God just reveals more and more. They talk about in AA, more will be revealed, and it's true.
Right.
God is so deep, and it's, you can never know enough about him. So.
Well, you brought up your opinion that and it's mine as well as many others, that people are talking less and less about God in meetings today. Even the generic form of God, the term higher power, even that is starting to fade away. Why do you think that is?
Well, I just, I think, it started with Bill W., obviously, because Dr. Bob, I know this now, I didn't know this before, but I guess Dr. Bob, there was two different schools of AA back then. There was Dr. Bob and Bill W., and, there was the New York AA and the Akron AA, and so Dr. Bob would lead people through the book or through the Bible, and Bill W. was more about the steps and that kind of stuff. And so I just think, it's just gotten, I know there's like a really diverse group of people in America now. It's all different kinds. And I know Bill W. was just trying to be more diverse and not be so rigid on you have to believe one thing. But for me, I know for me that that is the only way for me. I believe that Christ is the only way. He's the only way to heaven, and he's the only way to a relationship with God. And so I just think, we've tried so hard to be politically correct, and it's kind of the culture, I believe, in America today. I mean, so many people are not going to church anymore, especially young people. They've rejected God. They've rejected, the Christian faith that this country was founded on. And it's just the trajectory, I think, that's happening in society. I think it's just reflecting in AA nowadays, too. So
yeah, AA isn't unique in that. It's happening all over the place. And I think Alcoholics Anonymous made a good call when they opened it up to everyone. I do believe that, and I believe that the chapter We Agnostics very clearly states that any place is good enough to make a beginning. I think one of the things that we've forgotten is that sometimes we like to stay in the beginning and not grow.
Yeah.
Because it's difficult to look at ourselves. It's difficult to look at that God-shaped hole and say, I need to fill that with the Creator and not my own will. We don't like that. But hopefully through this step process, and I believe, probably as you do, that if you actually and honestly do the steps the way they're laid out, and you don't pick and choose, you actually follow the directions to the letter, you will come to a crossroads where you will need to make a decision about who God is in your life. And then that'll be on you.
That's right. Oh, and I did want to mention that when I did my 9th step, I was able to go back to these places and make amends to all these places I stole from, and that was just amazing. And there was this one amends that I did to my next door neighbor. We had actually robbed their house.
Oh, no.
And I was able to go back and make amends to this guy, and it was just, this is my biggest amends I've ever done. And all he wanted was his class ring back. Like, we stole jewelry and guns and all this stuff, but all he wanted was his class ring back. And I was able to order his class ring, and he sent me this letter that said I could use him as a character reference. And
wow.
He said it took a lot of courage what I did, and it was just, it's a miracle. When you go through the steps, that's when God really became real, and when I really saw him doing the miracles was when I did step 9, when I started going out and making amends, and God was putting these people in my life, these divine appointments and stuff, for people that I can make amends to. And so, yeah, I mean, follow the steps. I mean, it's gonna change your life. It changed my life. I heard it explained this way, that there's God and there's you and there's all this junk in between. And the steps is what clears that stuff out of the way and brings you closer to a power greater than yourself, to God.
Yeah, that's really good. That's a very good way to put it. Very good way. Well, Andy, we're out of time. Any closing thoughts for those who are tuning in today?
Well, I just want to say thank you, Monty, for giving me this opportunity. I really appreciate it. And just anybody out there, to newcomers, just you can do it. No matter how young you are. That's the thing I want to say. I got sober when I was 21, like 8 days after I turned 21. So you can do it, no matter how young you are.
Right.
If you are hopeless, and you know you're an alcoholic, you can stay sober no matter how young you are. It can be done. I've done it. So
yeah, I agree, my
get
friend.
a sponsor. Yeah, just get a sponsor and go through the steps and go to meetings and find God, because that's what it's all about.
And don't try to look for the perfect everything, because you'll never get started, right?
That's right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's never going to be perfect. Yeah. See, I'm such a perfectionist. That's how I am. I always want everything to be perfect. You know?
Yeah.
It's not. You know.
You know, I like what that sponsor said that day. I mean, that guy, potential sponsor, said that day, but then the next day I didn't like what he said, so I'm not going to do that. I didn't like what that church did, or that synagogue did, or that place of worship. I'm not going to go back there. But I've gotten food poisoning a couple times in my life, and I keep going out to eat. So, what? So, you got to give things a chance. Please, folks.
Exactly.
We say that the best is the enemy of the good, or whatever. If you're looking for perfection, you're never going to recover. You're just never going to recover. Especially if you're listening to my shows, you're not going to listen to a perfect show. You're going to get an attitude, and probably, turn your computer off and everything else. But I'm just saying, hang in there with me, because, there's more to come. God's not done with us yet, is he, Andy?
That's right. Contempt part investigation, right? That's what they say.
Yep, that's right. That's right. All right, Andy, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show and share your experience, strength, and hope, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah, hey, Monty, thank you for inviting me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Really quickly, we want to make sure we don't forget our buddy Marco. Give a shout-out to Marco there, Andy.
Marco, hey, Mr. Ronzi. Thanks for hooking me up with Monty. I appreciate it, brother. Love you, bro.
Now, folks, we're going to tell on Marco. Marco lives in Scottsdale, Arizona area. If you run into Marco, get to know the guy, give him a hug, because he got a heart as big as New York. The guy does. Marco, we love you. Thank you for introducing me to Andy. It's been an absolute pleasure. And folks, Andy, like you and Marco and so many others, are what is the glue that holds this thing together, so people can recover from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. I appreciate it so much. All right, folks, listen, we have to sign off. Remember, you can hear all sorts of shows, archive shows, YouTube versions, MP3 versions, Android versions, iPod, blah, 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 blah. We're all over the map, 24/7 here at Take 12 Radio at Comcast.net. Also, thank you to those folks from the Graceful Living Network who are broadcasting this show on AM and FM talk stations through the Graceful Living Network as well. We appreciate all your support, too. So, listen, do something today, right now, that'll make the person you'll be tomorrow proud to have been the person you are today. Until our next broadcast, and Andy, by the way, don't hang up. Until our next broadcast, this is the Monty Man along with Andy Race from Phoenix, Arizona. We're wishing God's perfect serenity for you. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
This has been a broadcast of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting.
Kitty, 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 kitty.